So what makes someone who's spent thousands of hours and probably thousands of dollars just walk away from a game? Well, that's what we're digging into today. One veteran player's journey from being a top-tier spender in Raid Shadow Legends to just quitting cold turkey. Let's get into the moment it all changed.
And it all started with this one single thought. This wasn't some slow, creeping burnout. It was more like a switch flipped, a sudden, wait a minute moment, all because of one specific event that forced him to question everything about the game he dedicated so much of his life to.
And we're talking about a serious commitment here. 2 full years. That is a huge amount of time to pour into anything, building up an account, learning the systems, and just grinding day in and day out.
And just so we're all on the same page, this wasn't some casual player. He was, in his own words, deep in whale territory. He had almost every single one of the ultra-rare mythical champions. He'd even farmed out the masteries for every character on his account, even the totally useless common ones. So yeah, we're getting the perspective of someone who is truly at the top of the food chain.
Okay, so what was the final straw? The thing that just broke the camel's back? Believe it or not, it was a crossover event that should have been a dream come true, especially if you're an 80s kid. A collab with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Now, our guy was all in. The mission was simple. Collect them all. You've got the 4 turtles, and of course, you've got to have their arch-nemesis, Shredder. For a collector or completionist, this was a non-negotiable, must-have set of limited-time characters.
And here is where the whole thing falls apart. See, getting the 4 turtles themselves? Totally doable. You could get them just by playing the game, through standard events. But Shredder, that was a whole different story. He was locked behind this insane wall. You either had to win a brutal, hyper-competitive tournament against all the other biggest spenders, or get unbelievably lottery-winning lucky.
And this right here is the real heart of the problem. For this player, it had nothing to do with how powerful Shredder was. In fact, he thought the character was pretty mediocre. It was about the principle of the thing. I mean, think about it. You're playing a character collecting game, and they release these fan-favorite, limited-time characters, but make one of them basically impossible to get. It just felt wrong, fundamentally broken.
So that whole Shredder fiasco, that was the spark. But what it really did was shine a giant spotlight on some much bigger systemic problems with Raid's whole endgame.
First up, you got something called champion bloat. Basically, when a game's been around for a while, they just keep adding more and more characters until the pool of who you can summon is just gigantic. It gets super diluted.
I mean, look at this. We're talking about over 1,000 champions in Raid. And the player we're talking about said that for months on end, every time he'd pull for a new hero, he'd just get duplicates. Over and over. The excitement was just gone, replaced by this feeling that he was guaranteed to be disappointed.
It really begs the question, right? How is a game supposed to keep its most loyal, long-term players hooked when the odds of them ever getting something new and exciting are basically zero?
And then, to make things even worse, you've got power creep. This is where the game designers keep releasing new characters that are just flat out better and stronger than the old ones. Suddenly, that champion you spent a year building up, they're kind of useless now. It creates this endless, exhausting chase for whatever's new.
So this is where things get really interesting. This is the aha moment. After getting so frustrated with the whole TMNT event, he decided to just try out some other newer gacha games. And what he found was, it was a night and day difference in how they're designed.
Okay, the single biggest difference he found was in something called the pity system. So in Raid, you have to do 200 summons to be guaranteed a legendary character. And even then, it could be anyone. But in these modern games, that pity number is way lower, like 80 or 90. But here's the real kicker. In the new games, if you hit that pity and don't get the special featured character, your very next one is 100% guaranteed to be them. So you go from this maybe I'll never get it system in Raid to a worst case scenario, it'll take me 180 pulls in the new games. That's a massive, massive difference.
And it's not just getting characters. The difference in farming for gear is just as huge. In Raid, you're just grinding a dungeon hoping for the best, getting a ton of random junk you don't need. In these other games, you can go to a specific place to farm for a specific type of gear, and at the end of the game, you're guaranteed to get the best stuff. It's targeted. It actually respects your time.
Same story with upgrading skills. In Raid, it's a complete lottery. You use these super rare books and just cross your fingers that it lands on the right skill. The newer games, no randomness. You just farm what you need, and you pick the exact skill you want to level up. No wasted resources.
This one is kinda crazy. Raid pretty much forces you to go to third-party websites just to figure out how to build your characters, because the in-game guides are totally useless and out of date. Meanwhile, the modern games have these amazing detailed guides built right in. They tell you everything: what gear to use, which skills to focus on, who to put on a team.
And honestly, the list of quality of life differences just goes on and on. You've got modern games giving brand new players some of the best characters right away. Some even let you pick a top-tier hero for free. They hold fun events that don't drain your resources. They even figured out how to make getting a duplicate character feel good, like a power-up, instead of a total letdown.
So after seeing all of this, after seeing how the other half lives, so to speak, the player came to a pretty clear and unavoidable conclusion about the game he had spent 2 years of his life playing.
And here's the bottom line for him. When you put Raid Shadow Legends up against these newer games, it just feels old. It feels like it's built on these outdated, almost predatory systems that just don't respect the player's time or their effort or their money anymore.
So what's his advice for anyone else out there feeling that same burnout? It's actually pretty simple. He's not saying you have to just quit cold turkey, especially if you still get some fun out of it. Instead, just demote it. Make it your side game. Log in, do the bare minimum, your clan boss hits, your dailies, and then get out. Save your real time and energy for the games that actually treat you better.
His last piece of advice, his final message to anyone who feels trapped by how much they've already put into the game, it's simple and it's powerful. Just break the chains.
And you know, this whole story kind of leaves us with a much bigger question to think about, one that goes beyond just Raid. When does a game stop respecting you? At what point does that fun hobby start to feel more like an obligation? Like you're just feeding a machine that doesn't really care about your experience anymore?